Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. I am Brittany Wright, and I am a nutrition provider here at Vitality Health Matrix. And I'm so excited to talk to you today also about fitness. I'm also one of the fitness experts here, and my job is to help you find a good routine with your fitness and your movement as you navigate through the program or as you navigate balancing your hormones, healing your nervous system, and reigniting your metabolism. So, we are so grateful you are here, whether you are listening to us live or you are catching the replay. These calls are so important and just another tool in your arsenal to help you feel and live your optimal life in your healthiest way. So, we are going to talk today about how to work out during our menstrual cycle. So, if this is something that maybe you've been struggling with, or you have found yourself some weeks you are so incredibly motivated and you can't wait to get the workout in and you're pushing hard and your energy's up and you're excited and it's going so well. And then maybe like 2 weeks later, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even think about doing this. Like, this feels really hard. Maybe even mentally, it just feels like it's going to get hard, and we have to like talk ourselves into the exercise routine. And 2 weeks ago, we were so excited and couldn't wait, and we start to like doubt ourselves, like, oh my gosh, what changed? Or I can't stick with it, or what's wrong with me? But what we don't see is often it's just our body's response to our menstrual cycle, or maybe your ovulation cycle, or maybe the days leading up to your menstrual cycle. It is up to you to track when those moments come for you and when they're harder. It's a little bit different for everyone in the timing of this. So, for example, my personal self, my biggest struggle are like the 3 to 4 days before I get my period and like 7 to 8 days before I get my period. So I know like a week before my cycle, I'm like, oh, like that stretch could be really, really tough for just motivation, feeling good, cravings, all those things come before my cycle, the couple days. Now, each cycle is different. Some cycles I don't have any symptoms and I'm like, oh, it's my time to get my period. Other times I'm like, oh yeah, it's coming. I feel it. And that's a direct correlation to how am I listening to my body the previous weeks? Was I able to, get my protein in and eat enough calories? Was I able to get enough rest? Was I able to hydrate? Was I taking my supplements consistently? It's a good self-reflection and it's a good indicator to say, hey, I am in alignment with the habits and lifestyle that I know serve my body best. Or hey, I've fallen off a little bit. My sleep has been a little wonky. I've been skipping meals a little bit more frequently because of our schedule. Or, maybe I'm working out too hard and I need to tone it back a little bit. It's a great self-check. It is a great vital sign for you to take and learn about your body and what you need during that time. So I thought it would be really helpful today to talk about what we need or ways to pivot our fitness routine when that time of the month comes that affects your energy and your motivation the most. Because, like I said, it's a little different for all of us. So, I'm going to share our screen. So, everything I say here, I'm going to use menstrual cycle as a point, okay, as a consistent point here. But I want you to take that for whatever time is most difficult for you. Okay, so when I say difficult, when does your motivation dip? When does working out sound really hard? When is your energy really low? Like, when during the month is that for you? Because it's going to be different for all of us, but these tools and this mindset can be adaptable to any stage that you're in. So we're going to talk about working out during your menstrual week, giving yourself grace while your body works hard inside. I think one of the things we often forget is that when we are in our menstrual cycle, when we are going through these hormone cycles, our body is working hard. Our body is so smart and it is working really, really hard to do what it needs to do for us inside so that we are the healthiest versions of ourselves. So, what actually happens during your menstrual cycle? This is preparation where, under the influence of estrogen and progesterone from our ovaries, if no pregnancy develops, the endometrium is shed, right? There's this liner that is shed as a menstrual period. It comes out about 14 days after ovulation. So, that is what's happening. Our estrogen and progesterone from the ovary. Um, comes out and it either tells us, hey, we're pregnant, or hey, we're having our period. It's time to shed this uterine endometrium lining. Okay, so that's what's happening with your menstrual cycle in a nutshell. What's going on hormonally is the levels of estrogen and progesterone are typically at their lowest. This causes the top layers of the lining to release and leave the body. Your body's no longer holding on to them. They're at their lowest. They are done. They've done their job. We're shedding it and we're starting anew. Okay. So this is day one of your cycle. So if you track your cycle, you track your period, day one is that first day of your bleeding menstrual cycle. Okay. Benefits of working out during your menstrual week. There are some. I'm not saying don't move. I'm saying for when we are like 3 weeks into this new routine and we are loving it and we are moving our body, we're lifting weights, we're getting to the gym, we've adopted this routine, and then all of a sudden we're like, I don't want to do any of this, or all of this feels really hard, or what like I want to do the workout and I can show up, but I can't lift as heavy as I was, or maybe I'm not running as fast as I was. I'm like, what's happening? What's wrong with me? We're having a cycle, right? So movement during your menstrual cycle can help decrease your PMS symptoms. So it can provide you energy. Momentum creates more momentum. So it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm just gonna lay on the couch, and then we get more tired. What if we just started small and we're like, hey, we're just gonna go for a 5 minute walk, a 10 minute walk, and this can bring us some energy and help get some movement in our stomach and in our crampy area and bring some blood flow in there that's healthy to get some things moving and bring some oxygen to that place so that the cramps aren't always so painful. So the fatigue and the pain can be decreased by getting some movement in. We get an endorphin release. Studies suggest that exercising helps release endorphins, which elevates your mood. Additionally, endorphins are natural painkillers that may help reduce your period pain. So when we're happy, if you've seen that like Legally Blonde, like exercise release endorphins, and endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't do anything, like what is she, don't kill people or something, when she's talking about her fitness instructor. So those endorphins come out and that eases the stress. And sometimes this, like, it brings out some good stress into our body and our body can relax. We gain more strength and power. Research says that women in their first 2 weeks of their menstrual cycle can experience a rise in more strength and power due to fewer female hormones. So we have to kind of get over that fatigue or that lack of motivation, but you may go into your workout and feel good and strong if we're nourishing our body and we're getting good rest. We may go into that period of time, those 2 weeks of our cycle, again, and after. But again, like, pay attention to when that hard time is for you. Like I said, like during my menstrual cycle, like my day one, I feel great. It's the days leading up to that for me that tend to be the harder time, where I have to take rest and pay more attention and pay more in tune with my body. So you may experience the exact, exactly what I'm talking about here, where day one happens and you feel bloated, you feel discomfort, you have cramps, you're tired, and that lasts the whole 4 to 7 days that you're bleeding. And then you stop and you feel back to a regular self, where you may be more like me, where you feel that misery a little bit before your cycle. On day one, it's lifted. So pay attention to when that's happening for you. Mood can be enhanced whether you are on your period or not. Exercising can always help lift your mood. It's always a good mood booster. At the very least, I try to get a walk in. I grab a book that I'm in tune with. I put in podcast and I kind of multitask in that way to bring me some joy. It's like my favorite thing is to get a walk and read, or a podcast and lift. Like, one of those two things are going to boost my mood instantly, regardless of what's going on in my body. Fight period pain has been kind of what I mentioned. It's been found that light walking can help in combating the irritating period pains, cramps, aches, and joints. So if instead of sitting and being like, oh, I'm achy, I'm just gonna sit, can we get a little bit of movement in, some mobility, some foam rolling, which we're going to talk about in a second. So I want you to just think for a second too, when we hear working out, we often think like a 45-minute lift session or a 30-minute cardio session. working out does not always have to be that intense. Working out can be a good walk. Working out can be lower weights, light reps, those kinds of things, which we're going to go over. So when I say we're working out, that might not mean you go to your CrossFit class this week, but we swap that out because it might not be the best week for CrossFit, but that doesn't mean we don't have to do nothing. So best exercises for your menstrual week, walking, like I said, so great. Grab something that brings you enjoyment. Maybe it's a book. Maybe you talk with a friend. Maybe you grab a buddy and you walk together. Maybe it's a podcast and you walk and podcast. I like to do that. And then I get the notes section of my phone out and I can make some notes through, what quote stuck out at me or what part of the podcast to refer back to. But you can also increase, this doesn't have to be a light walk. This doesn't have to be, just like a leisure walk. This can be what I call a workout walk. You can go get sweaty, but the intensity is a little bit lower than going to a cardio class or a heavy weightlifting session. If you can get outside, that's going to bring you vitamin D. That's going to make your mood even better. That's going to help your cycle even more. I cannot wait for the sunshine and good weather out here to get outside. It's definitely the middle of seasonal depression over here, and I am so ready for a good outdoor walk. So if you have that blessing to be able to go outside and get some sunshine, I highly recommend it during that menstrual where you can soak in that vitamin D. Another way, if you are like me, stuck inside for your walks, you can get on the treadmill, but increase your incline a little bit. Give yourself a little challenge in that way. Maybe the walk is shorter, or you don't go as fast, but you can put the incline up and get a little challenge. It's great for your glutes. It's great for your hamstrings. It's great for your cardio, just by pushing yourself just that little extra. Um, flipping from weightlifting, and maybe you try bar or Pilates the week of your menstrual cycle, where we're still really challenging the muscles, we're still building and breaking them down, and we're working almost often more time under tension. So we're holding poses longer, and we're working our muscles in a whole different capacity, which aside from just bringing your body down to a more neutral exercise, is so good to work your muscles in this other way. So you could even have a plan in place where, hey, weeks 1 through 3, I do weightlifting and maybe some HIIT, and I do my walks. And then during my menstrual week, I get my bar or Pilates class on, and I work my muscles in a different way, time under tension, maybe with bands or maybe a Pilates ball. As I'm thinking about this, like, oh, that sounds really good right now. Um, it's just so good for long, lean muscles and to lengthen your muscles while still challenging them. There are some great YouTube options. So you can just Google, YouTube a bar workout or a Pilates workout. You could find a Pure Barre class um, in person, or see if there's a bar or Pilates class at your gym if you like to do an in-person class. But definitely take that into consideration that we don't have to do nothing. We can change how we're doing resistance training for our body. If you love your weight routine, and you don't have access to bar or Pilates, you can still do some light lifting. You can do the same routine, just use lighter weights. You can use bands instead of weights. You can use lighter weights and higher reps. So again, if you're a person who likes to follow a calendar or just have a plan in place and you don't want to wing it, depending on how you feel, you could work this easily into those, 4 or 5 days where your body needs time to recover. You feel the symptoms coming on. You can have like a lighter weight, high rep program implemented for you. So if you're normally like doing bicep curls with 15 pounds, maybe you go down to 8 pounds and you do 15 to 20 reps versus 8 to 12 reps. And that just changes again how we're working the muscle, how long we're working the muscle, and what the muscle has to do. So it's really, really great to do that kind of lifting for even your next phase when you go back into your heavier weights. If none of this sounds great for you and you have access to a swimming pool, swimming is a great cardiovascular workout that's low impact on all your joints. It's not uncommon for your joints to ache during your menstrual cycle. So if you need to take a load off of them, getting in a pool, even if you're just playing around and just like not like swimming laps, but just swimming with your kids or just swimming around, it can be a really great way to get some movement into your body without, any strain on your joints and ligaments. Dancing is another awesome, fun way. Again, if you have home exercise stuff, you can access that. through there. You can check Google for some awesome things, or maybe you have a dance class that I met a woman a couple weeks ago. She takes dancing lessons every week and she loves it. She's like 60 and she looks amazing. But she's like, I just love my dance class. It's great cardio. So maybe that's something that interests you as well. And maybe you're like, yeah, I don't want to do any of this. Mobility, stretching, foam rolling. If you're into yoga, yoga's all great. Again, it's more just about movement, getting good blood flow through your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, keeping, it's called synovial fluid in your joints so that our joints don't get stiff. So simply stretching, world's greatest stretch, arm cross body, holding your leg to do a quad stretch, getting on the floor or standing tall, any way that stretching brings you joy and that you love. I know not everyone loves it, but it's really, really important. It can be really, really great for your muscles. Foam rolling is another great option. It just really breaks up those tight tissues and that lactic acid that's chilling there. Getting into that fascia on your muscles to break that down can be really, really self-soothing for you as well. And oftentimes you're like, oh, I need to exercise. I know I need to exercise. Like my back is tight and this and I'm like, we don't necessarily need to get to the gym right away, but more mobility may be really, really helpful. So it's kind of moving through the stretch, getting on a foam roller and moving through those exercises and breaking up that fascia that can be really so tight. So these are all great ways during your menstrual cycle or during those times of the month when it just is a little bit harder to get motivated to do your workouts. These are great options. And I think the biggest thing is to know that this is not a you thing mentally. It seems like it, but it's just your body's natural response. It's not you losing motivation. It's just putting a new lens on to say like, hey, I'm learning how my body responds during this week, and I'm going to give myself grace until I figure out the best case scenario. And so while I'm on this, I'm going to work out 4 times a week or lift 4 times a week. I need to change that during this week, and my lifts are going to look different, or I'm going to do bar 2 times, or I'm going for 2 bar classes and 2 walks, and give yourself some standards and goals that are separate from the whole month, just specific for those couple days that you just don't feel your best self. So exercises to avoid any strenuous heavy lifting CrossFit classes. Um, you can do them if you feel up for it, but there's more going on in your body as the estrogen dips and our progesterone kind of figures out its way. Um, that can sometimes cause injury. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm bringing this to the forefront and to knowledge. Just being more mindful because our joints and our ligaments can be a little bit more lax during that time. And so we just want to be aware. Avoiding exercise for longer than 30 to 40 minutes, keeping that time frame shorter to preserve energy, to keep our body and our energy up. As well as if the more we get tired during a workout, the higher risk we have for injury if our body is not responding in the way that we are used to it to responding. Poses that place your head below with your head below your body with yoga. That's just blood flow. Pay attention to how you feel. Be mindful of that. But don't force your body to exercise. If it's really starting to be something that you're like, oh, and we're doing it because it's a should, and we're trying to continue to check things off the list. I really just encourage you to listen to your body and set different standards for that week for yourself and trust that your body knows you best. And it's your biggest tool and to paying attention to what it needs. That's what I have. So I'm gonna stop share. So again, these are tactical tips that you can implement, but I think the biggest thing I would love for you to um, be aware of is that this is also mental and that you can give yourself grace and you are not a failure if you take that time off when we're going through a cycle change, that it's not you. It's not you being a failure. It's not you choosing to not have energy. There's a real thing going on in your body and your body's working hard for you. And when we can just let our body have that space to do its thing, we open up for so many more gains throughout the rest of the month instead of just pushing it when it's not ready to be pushed. So I hope this brought you some comfort. I hope this gave you some tangible tips and tools to implement in your own life. And if there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. And we'll see you guys next time.